Hey everyone, how's everyone doing today? Today we are doing Behind the Scenes. Welcome to Behind the Scenes. Every Thursday I host an episode of either Behind the Scenes or Transformation Time. My name is Diana Lizarazo and today's guest speaker is Kasey Wong. Now before we get started on this amazing topic, or going to get to hear what Kasey has to say about his properties, I want to share some exciting news with you. I have created this application that I would love to share with you guys. I'll be putting it in the links. And why it's so amazing is because it's not only a networking application, a knowledge sharing application, but it solves two critical problems in the real estate investing world. And that is trust and credibility, creating it and finding it, and searchability, the same thing, being searchable or finding the right people that you need. So if you're interested in that, get into my bio, or I'll have it in the description also below, because it's something that you want to be a part of. Now back to the show. So on Behind the Scenes, our guest speakers are real estate investors, and they're here to help you by sharing their journeys on the projects they work on. So they'll be sharing, they'll be going through what kind of project it is they worked on. They'll be talking about the numbers. And the most fun part and the most biggest learning part, in my opinion, is the problems they've encountered, how they solve the problems, and if it was something new for them, what they would do differently next time. So if you guys are ready, let's give Kasey some thumbs up, let's give him some hearts, and let's get him on. Let's see, is he coming? Yeah, it should be coming. Well, while we wait for this connection to decide to work. So yeah, let me know, what are you guys up to right now? How are you guys dealing with this market? It's definitely slowed down a lot. Let me see. It says Kasey, just to let you know, it shows that I've invited you. But while we wait for Kasey to come on, and sorry, Kasey, if you're on the phone, sorry, you have to be on the phone. You can't do it on your computer, so that may also be the issue. While we wait for Kasey to come on, I'd love to hear how you're doing in this market. What kind of things have you seen? If you're looking for properties, if you're dealing with current projects right now, how is that going? Because I can tell you, for example, for me, it says Kasey can't join. I think he was probably, okay, let me invite you again. I've invited you to join. Let's see. Okay, there we go. Hey.
Hey Diana, how you doing?
Good, how are you, Kasey?
Good, good.
Awesome. Thanks so much for coming on again. I always find it so much fun to hear about your projects and just see what you're up to these days. So before we get started, before we hear about your project, I know everyone probably already knows you, but just in case, let's let everyone know, what's your real estate strategy, what are you into, and anything else you'd like to share about your journey in real estate.
Sure, sure. I can step it back a bit. I can almost do a 2 minute summary of what my background is and so on and so forth. So here's my quick little snapshot, 2 minutes. Grew up in Scarborough, Chinese background, ethnicity. Grew up in Toronto. I'm more of a white guy than anything because I grew up in Toronto. What else? Went to U of T, studied finance. Started investing in 2003, and essentially what everybody else was doing. Triplex, looked at condos, didn't work. Did rent to owns in Barrie. So bought a whole bunch of houses, divested them, actually sold them, made some money on most of them, and then got into multifamily. Went from the finance area, essentially almost like the banking world, the investment world, punching in the 9 to 5 Monday to Friday grind, and then went into property management while all of this, while working and investing in real estate at the same time. This is actually in 2003, so we're 20 years later. So fast forward 20 years, we've been sort of doing this real estate investing. So not a short stint at all. Went into, again, property management, worked for some well-known companies like the Brookfields, CapREIT, and boutique management companies, doing property management because that's what I'd like to do. While we're doing all that, in the last probably, I say about 10 years is when we really scaled and did multifamily. That's when I was actually managing more multifamily as well, like apartment buildings, condos, malls. Malls up in Highway 7 area. And then nothing has really changed. Multifamily, our niche is the 30 to 80 unit buildings, the small 2.5-story walk-ups. These are built in the 1960s and 70s built. If you know Ontario, that's when the apartment building boom was happening in 1960s and 70s. 1980s, there's a housing boom when all housing skyrocketed. Then in the late 80s, in 88, 89, basically 89, there was interest rates was sky high in the teens, in the 14 and 15%. And then there's a crash for a good almost 10 years after. So 2003 was when we started, all the way to now. We purchased, I'm going to talk about a couple of our multifamily that we bought in 2012. That's a Duke and Wellington property, and then one recent that we just bought 2 years ago. So we can take a look at where the market is going. I can tell you my quote unquote prediction or forecast. I don't have a crystal ball, but honestly, you
No,
don't really.
it's always great. I mean, you've been in it for so long, so it's like you've definitely seen trends. And I mean, all we can always do is make our predictions and see what
Yep,
the outcome comes to. So which property? So let's start with the properties first, and then at the end we'll talk about the predictions of
yep,
what you think is going to happening from what you've seen. So which property would you like to start
sure.
with?
We'll start with Duke and Wellington. We bought that in about 2012, so about 11 years. Obviously, the numbers aren't, they're going to be skewed in my favor because we bought it so low. So let's talk about specifically the numbers. 10 years ago, or even now, or even 10 years later, it's always going to be very, very similar. So let me talk about this. This is a townhouse complex at the corner of Duke and Wellington. Literally a 5-minute, maybe a 7-minute walk to Google's head office. Very central, great location in Kitchener. However, the downside is it's old, right? 2012, we bought it for 1.35 million. Okay, 1.35 million for 9 towns and 1 duplex. So that translates to $135,000 per unit. When we bought this property, which I said in one of these videos on the Canadian Real Estate Channel, and I'll just put that out there. When we bought it, there was some problems with it. There was problems with water penetration into the basement. I talked to the owner. I go, hey, there's water. We spoke to the tenants. He didn't divulge the information. So I said, hey, we have some problems with this water penetration into the basement. What can we do? You want to fix it, or should I fix it? You never leave it to the current owner, because they're not going to fix it properly, and how to get warranty and so on and so forth. So you know why I said, hey, why don't we just do a cash, get 3 quotes, and basically get me the middle quote, okay, which we got quotes, he got quotes, and I got quotes, and we got the middle price. They said, hey, let's do cash back on close, okay, for it was about 30,000 ish. And I go, we close, I get this money because I need to do these repairs. That was one of the major things. Like, most of my properties don't have a lot of problems with it, so I don't usually buy structural issues or problems with the property itself. The reason being is that I don't want the headaches, and if there is, I would probably charge the cost of that 30,000 plus 20 or 30% on top. Okay, so that's what you normally would say. Hey, okay, it was $30,000 repair cost. I'm going to charge a 30%, like a management fee, because management construction fee for myself, because I have now oversee it, right? You can ask anything you want. Okay, usually you ask high, and then they'll come down.
Mhm.
So you can ask for 10%. They come down to 20%. Let's say meet in the middle at 25%. So 25% of that 30,000, which is like 7,500. So whatever, it's like, let's bump that up to 37,500. So whatever you figure is what you want to negotiate with. So cash gun closed, and I then said, hey, there's water. I basically diverted all the water to the front of the building, changed the eavesdrop downspouts, and diverted all the water. Problem solved. Maybe 4,000. I was gonna say $3,000 or $4,000 worth of work or cost of doing downspouts. So that solved the problem. I don't have to spend 30,000. I saved that money because hey, that's he said that let's do this waterproofing, which you had to dig it up and all that stuff. So in retrospect, always take a look at what you can do to bypass what the problem is, right? The problem is the water, divert the water, see if there's still the problem. And if you solved it, great, you saved that money, you earned that money.
That's a great point that I just wanted to reiterate also, is that, like you said, it's good that you're in control of it and not letting the owner do it, because like that, they could completely just cheap out on it, and then it doesn't actually fix the problem. Or if anything, even worse, it temporarily fixes it. It'll fix it for like just enough time for you to close, and then all of a sudden things are going wrong, right?
It's crazy. It's like, so you have to always think about what's the worst case scenario. Is that, yes, exactly, Diana, is that, hey, he's not going to fix it properly. He doesn't care. He walked away. Same thing with when I closed on this property. There was appliances missing. I could not believe appliances were missing. We wrote it all down. It was all on the APS, agreement purchase and sale. And we said, hey, it's like you owe us. It was actually 5 appliances, and he basically. So this lawyer, he didn't even know what the GP and LP structure. He was very new. He's actually a prominent lawyer that was on REIN, the real estate investment network, and then he didn't know how to close. So it was like, and then this lawyer goes to me, goes, you have to go after him with small claims court. And then I go, oh, damn, it's like small claims court. And then I filed, and then in small claims court, you actually have to serve it personally, okay, to the owner. So I had to look him up. We did an MTO search, find out where he lived. I live in North York, so basically Yonge and Steeles area. I had to find out where he lived. He lived near Fairview Mall. So I actually tracked him, and I know I'm going deep into this, right? But
no,
like,
but it's
I had to track.
good to know like the things that you have to go through, right? Because, and I think it's also just good again, like hearing about the problems and just like, because a lot of people will think, or especially before, I felt like people would think, hey, you know, like I can just hire everyone off and like hands off. And the reality is there's going to be situations where you get really deep, especially if you want to solve the problem. Like you got to go and get into it. So I love hearing this. So yeah, keep on going.
Okay, so this is a small claims court. You actually have to serve them like personally, right? So what I did was I tracked him, MTO search. You find out where the guy lives. I did I like to scope people out, so I actually went to his house, and then I basically, you know, humans are creatures of habit. So I looked at him, watched him. He had a young family. Mondays and Tuesdays, nobody goes out on Mondays and Tuesdays or Wednesdays, right? Because they have a family. We're creatures of habit. So he goes to work, picks up his kids, comes home, makes dinners, and so on and so forth. Friday, Saturday, they're gone. They're out, like me. Like we're out for dinner, like whatever, doing stuff. So Monday and Tuesday, I basically walked there. I drove there, watched this guy. I have to serve him personally with this with the order from the small claims. So I said, okay, let's serve this guy. And then about 7 o'clock, 7:40 or something like that, you know, when everything settles down, I watched him for a good half an hour, 45 minutes, put the camera on, walked up to his front door, knocked on his door. This is in 2012. So basically with my phone, cameras, bang, I said, hey, is this so-and-so? He goes, yes. And then I go, here, you've been served, right? And it was only $3,700, right, for appliances and all. This is 5 appliances, and I had to serve him. So I served him, bang, I'm good, right? And then he wants to settle, right? Obviously, he doesn't want to go to court, and like he didn't think I was going to go after him for $3,700, right? But I am, right? I will go after you for $3,700. I served the guy, dropped it in him. Basically, I said, "What's your name?" I actually still have his contact on my phone. And then he said he wants to settle this. He went to Tim Hortons, close to my house. He goes, let's settle this, right? He wants to pay me the $3,700. Has to be a certified check, so on and so forth. And then great, done, right? And then he turns back in a conversation. He goes, "Are you looking for investors?" Right? Because it's kind of funny. I served the guy court documents to sue him, right? This is the previous owner. And then he goes, are you looking for investments? I know he's not going to invest with me, right? Like you have to be a bulldog. Okay. So you have to go and do what, look, you can outsource this. I can outsource this and I don't have to see the guy, but it's a level of satisfaction is like watching and looking at this guy in his eyes and say, hey, you've been served. Okay. Because you tried to screw me, right? But anyways, yeah, you have to do this. This is one of the problems. I had water penetration, but the previous owner didn't give me the 5 appliances. I have to go after him. There's always issues, and sometimes your lawyers aren't going to help you because they don't know, right? So you have to find out, like, how do you search for this guy's like place of like where he lives, right?
Yeah,
you have to do a search.
Surprised that like the lawyers
Yeah.
wouldn't like communicate with each other, or maybe back then it was different because wouldn't that have also been considered probably under not land trend, what is it called? The title insurance, sorry? Or is that different in the big multi-world or
No,
different way back then?
no, it's nothing to do with the title insurance or anything like that. There's nothing. Everything was legit and all that. It was the appliances, right? So we probably should have checked. So even before closing, we should have checked, but we wouldn't think that they would be like. This is one of my first multifamily. That back in 2012, even before my student housing across from Laurier. I wouldn't believe that they would actually not give us 5 appliances. So in retrospect, we would actually have to check all appliances, get the model number, take pictures of it, and from taking a picture of unit and model number for each one, because they can swap them out. They can say, well, it came with stainless steel, but I swapped them out with white appliances, right? As long as they're so writing everything down and making sure that everything is to the T is crucial now, because people will swap out. Like if I had another multifamily and it was high end and you swap them out and you bang bang bang, and then you have now higher end ones. So it really it does make a big difference. So like just as a tidbit of information, know what people can do, and this can actually have, honestly, it costs you guys money, right? So again, the learning lesson is this: is that if you can ask for a price reduction, you can ask for cash on close. If they you don't let the previous guy do it, right? The previous owner do it yourself, get the money, and then also appliances or anything that can basically grow legs and walk. Make sure you get model numbers and things like
I
that.
love that.
So that,
Grow legs
yeah,
and walk.
yeah,
But then the other good point to that you're saying is like that, because a lot of people don't realize that last day before you close, like you said, is so important
yep,
because you want to like leave it to like literally like the last minute to what you said, check everything so you know that this is what I'm expected to have.
yeah.
And you know that you're closing the house with exactly what you're saying, like whatever that it says you're supposed to have, you're going with
Yeah.
it.
So the market has changed. Like obviously it has gone up. Now we're in an environment where we're very high interest rates. So that's 2012, 1.35 million for 9 towns, 1 duplex. So essentially it's 9 units. I actually put a basement apartment in there. It's a legal, non-conforming. I didn't actually do it with the city. The new owners, I'm actually selling this right now at I think it's 3.5 million now. But we want to get the money out. We want basically get bigger units now, right? So that's our strategy. So we're selling this at 3.5. It hasn't even firmed yet. Actually, one of my the agent that sold us this, he's selling it now. So we bought it with this agent. His name is Carl Church. I'm not. I just throw these out. So Carl Church basically helped us buy it. Now we're selling it with him. I just have this loyalty. If you bought, like, I buy it with anybody, with another gentleman named Lorenzo or something, right? So we buy with different types of real estate, like a whole bunch of real estate agents. So the market is at 3.1, 3.5 now. So we're selling it. Kyle calls me this morning. He goes, "Hey, the repair cost doesn't seem right, so on and so forth. It's a little low and whatever, right?" I go, "I have 2 empty units right now that I can rent it out." When you're doing your pro forma, your rents are actually, for a 3-bedroom town, we worked the numbers out at 26.5, 2006, So $2,650, right? Which is actually low because it was only 2 or 3 months ago. Now I can actually rent it for $2,950, $2,950, almost $3,000. He's buying it for 3.5 million. It's almost, Diana, it's almost a 1% rule. Okay, so we're almost getting to the point where rents are going up so high. If you could buy it at a decent price, yes, I understand that interest rates are high, so you have to have a little bit more money, but rents are going up. So when rents do go up like this, your cap rates are essentially, they are going up, right? Obviously, you have to go up to the point where your interest rates you can cover your mortgage costs. So we're in an environment where, just on the news just now, is that even new construction for rental, they're going to skip the GST. They're not going to the new developers don't have to pay GST. This is literally like 10 minutes ago.
Oh,
So you can,
that's really interesting. That's good to
yeah.
know.
So you can see that on a large scale, on the macro level, government is trying to push for more affordable housing, more housing to be built. So you can see that it's pushing, and it's going to be helping us as quote unquote landlords, right? So this, we're selling, we're moving, we're upgrading, and then that's sort of the deal that we did 11 years ago. Now let's talk about current now. So literally in 2021, we purchased a 29 unit in Kitchener as well. This is on Centerville, but literally it's $9 million, okay? And we bought it for about $310,000 per unit. Okay, so 9 million or 30 units is about 300,000, right? 300,000. For 300,000, your rents, okay, Diana. So it's the same rent as the other Duke in Wellington at $2,950. So $3,000 a month. This is plus. This is plus hydro. So plus hydro, okay, plus gas, and then water sometimes is a chargeback as well. Okay, so water is usually bulk. Okay, so but their tenants are paying for everything. 60 the property on Centerville is almost a 1% rule. What you guys can calculate whatever on whatever gross rent multiplier or rent monthly rent times 12 divided by the purchase price. It's like the 1% rule. But your rents are definitely going up, and we're getting students from Conestoga wanting to rent these. So you can see it's a big push. Now the difference between Duke and Wellington and Centerville, the 9 townhomes and the 29 townhomes, is that we're applying for the city to condominiumize it. Okay, so the exit strategy is good in that, what can you buy as an end user? Let's say the starter family, okay, the family with the 2 kids, they want to get a townhouse, whatever. They want to buy into a property, right? They want to get basically a home for themselves. You can't even find a house. I don't even think you can find a townhome for less than 450,000. So when we condominiumize it, there's our bottom. So we're selling it for like minimum 500,000, right? So we went from 300 to 500. Boom, that's a big jump in profits,
100%.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And these ones, you said you've already condominialized. Oh my God, I can't even say that word for some reason. Did it?
No, yeah, we're actually doing it with the city right now. So we're in the process. So the city's very they don't want to condominiumize anymore. We might be the last few. Okay, I know there's a handful that want to go in and condominiumize. So Kitchener is sort of slowing down on that, and we just sort of got the last we're sort of last in line, which is great. So we already have there, but a major upside, because now we can minimize it, we can sell it, right? So it's going to be different, where if I sell it as a whole to another investor, your price will be a lot lower than, let's just say 15 million or whatever, because this is probably going to almost double, right? So instead of 9 million, it's going to be about 18 million. To another investor, it's probably going to be about 12 or 13, or maybe let's say 12 or 13 million. Okay, always based on rent. Okay, it's always based on your NOI, your cap rate. So whatever rent that you can push up, that's going to drive the price of that building. All right. So if I sell it to an end user, they don't even care about the rent. All right, I can sell it to the end user if they have a deposit and good credit. I can rent to own it and sell it to the tenants. I can sell it to an outside person, a tenant moves out, I can renovate it and then sell it to the to an end user that wants to come in and just buy it. So rent to own it, or even sell it to another tenant or another prospective buyer.
Yeah, I love that, especially in this market. You have just so many different ways to do an exit strategy that you're not tied down to one thing when you get that done too. So it's amazing to hear that because I mean, I feel like right now that's also the big thing is like, are you going to hold it? How are you going to sell it if you need to sell it? So that's amazing to
Yeah.
have those many different exit strategies.
So the one that we just the Centerville property is 9 million. 9 million for 29 units. Now, when you look at it, when we had some investors come in this deal, the first probably a good 3 to 4 years, it's not going to even cash flow, because when we're buying it, you're buying at 300,000. There's some old tenants there, and the rents are only like 12 or 1,400, but they have to know what we're doing. Just in the sort of in the short term, we're just going to hold it, push the rents up. The rent basically is $3,000 a month, right? So hold it, drive that rent up. Either sell it to an investor, sell it to end user, which is our strategy now. Kind of minimize it and just get rid of it slowly, right? Because we have done these. We have done these with townhomes, with the Duke and Wellington property. Centerville is just the recent one, and then we actually did a 89 ride out in London. We bought the entire building. Again, it was I believe it was a 36 unit ride out, 89 ride out, and we actually still have one property there, and we just sold all those kind of minimized. It was actually kind of minimized from the previous owner. The previous owner was Tricar is a builder, so we sold all of them. I guess my learning experience for ride out was that we should have held a little bit more, because the market just ran up, and it was like, wow, we just we earned a little bit of we earned a little bit of money, but we could have earned a lot more.
Live and learn, right? You're just like, damn it.
Yeah.
That's so funny. And was that the one that was your first time, the one you said that you bought it from, they had already done that? Was that your first time? Is that what kind of introduced you into it and made you think to get into that?
Yeah. So that was the first time. It was 89 Rideout Tricar that built it. It was because it was already kind of minimized. Yeah, we thought about it. It's like, you know what? Let's just do this, right? Jed and I were thinking is that this is a good exit strategy. Worst case scenario is just hold it. And it's like, it's a no-brainer, right? And then slowly divest it. But the market just took off in London, and this is before COVID. This is about 5 years ago or 6 years ago, and it just took off. And we're selling it. Obviously, the good units were sold first. Not so good would be, close to the garbage. The garbage and recycling bin area at the back, and so on and so forth. So we actually had to hold those, and then we had to, that some will sell more, some will sell a little bit lower. But yeah, to answer your question, Diana, that was sort of our first taste into, getting a building that's kind of minimized and then selling it off. But yeah, it's a very, in this market, I say, even in this tight supplied market, it's a good strategy. It's a good exit strategy.
Mm-hmm. And what would you say, just so the viewers can even know if they're interested in something like that, how much are the costs on average, would you say, to be able to do that?
Kind of minimize it?
Yeah.
I don't know the exact costs. Jed knows the full details because we went through a planner and all that, but it's not cheap. I know that some of the consultants that we had to pay was anywhere from about $20,000 to $40,000. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's not
plus the fees too, also, I guess, with the city, because I think with the cities it's also like quite a bit too.
Yeah. So with the city as well, consultants that you have to do, and then you have to upgrade it as well. So the 89 ride out in London, there wasn't that much renos that we had to do because it's a new build. It was only built 2 or 3 years. But this townhouse complex in Kitchener, it's basically built probably about 30 years ago. Mm-hmm. So you're gonna have to upgrade the asphalt, the lighting. I know that we're gonna have to do spruce that up. Even before we sell, and we hit that, let's say 500,000, from 300 to 500, we're gonna have to change some windows. We're gonna have to change kitchens and bathrooms and things like that, just to make it at that market where the buyer will buy. Okay, so the buyer presumes that, you know, they're getting into a new townhouse complex, and that's what we have to do. That's the amount that rental costs as well as capex on the exterior that we would have to do, and we actually budget $25,000 for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that, like you said, I feel like that's something also, I guess you notice a difference when you're dealing with just rental properties to actually like people that are buying homes. It is a different caliber of properties.
Yep.
So it's like you do have to, like you said, do those upgrades because you just notice that there's always a difference, you know, between the two styles.
Yeah. Yeah. So I talked about the property. I talked about my background. I talked about two properties. One we bought 11 years ago. One we just bought 2 years ago. And then now I just want to talk about what's happening with the market. I know everybody's sort of, um, you know, on the sidelines. Like some of our investors are on the sidelines. They don't know what to do. Right now, going forward, rates are probably going to be, you know, up there at that 5% now. It might inch a little bit higher, maybe one or two more, you know, rate hikes, and then it's going to it's going to come down slightly. We don't, for us, Jed and I, we're talking, we don't see it coming down back to the 2%. Sub 2%. It's not going to be that. It's going to be about 4.5%. It's going to stay like that for probably a good, I'm guessing, maybe 5 to 7 years, right?
That's
So,
interesting. I've been also thinking the same, that maybe it'll go up a little bit more, but we'll probably stabilize. Yeah, something like that. I was thinking the same, actually. It's
yeah.
interesting.
So it's gonna be about that amount. So when your rates are gonna be at, I say 4 to 4.5%, your cap rates are gonna be slightly higher. So it's gonna be a 5 or 6 cap, right? But what really helps is that your rents are gonna go up there as well. So what's happening with it just pushes everything up, right? So your interest rates has gone up, your rents has gone up. It really hurts, honestly. The people that first come here, that's starting out, they're gonna need more help, and they're gonna push the location right outwards. If they can't buy in the GTA because the price point is high, they're gonna buy 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes to an hour outside. They're gonna buy an electric car, and they're gonna whatever. They're gonna work from home or so on and so forth, right? But they're gonna be pushing out the boundaries. So that means your secondary markets, your tertiary markets will see. I don't see it dropping too much, right? Just because of the price point of Toronto, core downtown Toronto. It's expensive here. So what this means is that if I were you, like if I was like 20 years ago starting out, what would I do? Is that I will buy in the outskirts, as in I'll buy 45 minutes away from Toronto. I'll buy a triplex again, all right? And then I would live in the basement, right? I'll rent the 2 units out, and I'll buy an electric car, all right? That's me, right? I would, anything that goes wrong will be in the basement. The highest rent will be the ground floor and the second floor. It's not gonna be in the basement. Okay, so that's for me starting out if I was 28 again, right? And then once I gather up enough of these properties, I would divest again and buy the multifamily in the secondary markets, right? Again, same thing. I wouldn't buy, Toronto is a very safe market. Cash flow is low, your cap rates are high, and your purchase cost is high, right?
Yeah.
Your cap rates are low, excuse me. Your cap rates are low, your cash flow is low, but your purchase price is high. So if I was going to start again, I would do a triplex somewhere else, somewhere further, somewhere that's 45-minute drive, get an electric car, and then hold it for the long term. Here's a tidbit of information for all you guys that want to start, is that your 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, that's your backup plan. If this doesn't work, you can always fall back and get a job. Okay?
Yeah, and a point that you also made that I think was really good too is that holding it, like you said, for the long term, because I think we're probably, or curious on your opinion, but I think we're still in kind of like tumultuous times. So even if you are getting outskirts, I think, because let me tell you what I've been seeing, because I actually happen to have like on both sides properties, and I happen to have actually rental properties coming up and doing turnovers. And I have one, you know, it's in Brampton specifically, and the amount of people that applied were insane. We put the flyer in, or the on like in Marketplace. We put it in.
Yep.
Sunday night at 10 p.m. It was like a quick, like, let's get this quickly done. We got just overnight 15 people message, let alone during the day. I think we had total 80. By the second day, we had like 130 or something. We had to like completely stop the thing because it was just going insane. Um, but then, for example, in the outskirts, I don't know if people know where Tilsonburg is, but we were having not nowhere close to that. But we were having people interested in bringing, like, interested in the property. But you know what was the differences I was seeing
Mm-hmm.
is people still in the outskirts are still trying to be very traditional, where it's like the guy only works and the wife doesn't, and that doesn't work
Yep.
because they don't make enough money. So we were seeing, for example, like tons of people applying, and the income, like the rent was 70 to 80% of their income together. And I was just like, guys,
No.
what's going on? Compared to Brampton, where we were seeing people, like, let's say, banding together to try to make the incomes work. But even still, I was noticing, even let's say if it was two people, like now, for example, I was noticing like it's 50% of their income. And I
Yeah.
don't even really like that, to be honest. Like I'm more of I like the rent to be 1/3. I like, that's like for me my sweet spot. So I feel like that would be the one thing I would tell people though, to, like, yes, very good to do the outskirts, but like you're saying, like have those backup, like your jobs or things to kind of like help you through in case you have time. So you have time to be able to like find the right tenants
Yeah.
too. At least that's what I've noticed. Curious on your opinion
On finding the right tenants, is that what you're?
on just the whole thing. Like I don't know if you have any ones that are in the outsource, like you were
Yeah.
saying, to see like the differences in incomes, or like have you seen with your turnovers like any differences in the incomes, or same thing, like just because you were saying about the strategy of going out
Yeah.
into like the smaller
Yeah.
towns.
So I know when you're talking about that, about one person working in there was actually less people. Let me touch upon that. That's really marketing, right? So way back when I was doing a rent to owns in Barrie, we put ads in the, honestly, it was in the newspaper. This is 2003 or no, 2004. We put ads in the newspaper. It was called the Barrie Advance, and there's a Barrie something. It was crazy because like we would pay these. It was literally a couple $100 every 2 weeks or something, and you're paying these advertising. And when we were advertising in Barrie, it was sporadic. And then I'll go there, I'll do a showing, and so like on a Saturday afternoon because I was working, and it wasn't that high. Then what we did different is that we compiled a whole bunch of people. So on that whole week until that Saturday and Sunday showing, we did showings like a real estate agent. We did an open house, and then for that Monday to Friday, I would have like 30 people. Friday nights, I'll call them up. I'll say, hey, Joe, John, we have a showing tomorrow, Saturday, 2 o'clock, so on and so forth. I was like, and then going down the list on the Friday. Saturday morning, I'll call them back. Same people that said that they'll confirm. So Saturday morning at 11 o'clock, because everybody forgets, they drive their kids to
Half
soccer practice, hockey
the
practice.
people actually come.
But that don't come. So I call them up on Saturday. So 2 calls, okay, per person. Call them up on the Saturday at 11 o'clock. You say, are you still going to come? Joe, John, like whatever. I kept on calling them. Then literally 20 people. Okay, so you create that demand. They don't see each other if they're seeing one showing, like at 2 o'clock, 2:15 showing, 2:30. No, they don't see that. I want everybody to be there at 2 o'clock. So it's like line everybody up. And I said, hold on, you're not going in until this person leaves, right? So you just create a demand. So that time, create a, this is 2004 is when we did those rentals in Barrie. Just create a demand, right? And now they can see that, hey, this is a real short supply. So if you're in the outskirts, create that demand. They want to be able to see each other. I want them to see each other. I don't want them to wait a little bit. I don't want them to run in, take a look at the open house, and then leave. No, I want them to wait a little bit for that hot pizza. Okay, make sure that they are really hungry, right? And then when they come in, they really gobble it down and say, wow, that tastes really good. So that's what you do. Like for me, I did that. But yes, what's happening right now is that there's going to be a lot of people outskirts, they can't afford it. They're going to be above that 40%, 50, like they're going to be in the 60 or 70%. I normally don't, if they're that high in that ratio, when you're talking about that, Diana, I wouldn't accept them, right?
100%.
And
They shouldn't.
yeah, 100%. So in that case, like if you're just renting a house, if you can, split that up, okay, split that up in a way that now you have a duplex, right? You rent it upstairs to a family, rent downstairs the basement to a couple or a single person, but you gotta drop the rent amount, or that person had that ratio of 30 or 40%. It has to be around that, because they're not going to be able to afford it, and then they're going to leave.
Mm-hmm.
So know your numbers. Like that's crucial. If they're in that high sort of, it's risky for them to even move in.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to make your payments. You're going to go through the evictions, things like that, and
we're in Ontario, so
yeah,
you want to make sure you get the right tenant in, because you don't want to be waiting a year or longer.
Yeah. Hey, I want to talk about this as well. I know people were talking about, moving, like Jed and I were talking to another, another family friend, right? And we hear a lot of news about people moving out, or they're actually investing outside of Ontario, because Ontario is tenant friendly, not landlord friendly. They want to move to places where it's landlord friendly. But get this, people, in the next 5 to 10 years, the government are slow moving. We're very socialist here in Ontario. They're not going to build enough, and if they do build, it's going to take forever, right? So any capitalist, okay, state or province, okay, like the Floridas, Arizona, things like that, if they're willing to build, they're going to build more and more. That's going to drop that rent price, right, and drop the sale price. So whatever you bought it at, and they start flooding the market with supply, it actually hurts the buyer, the landlord, or whomever that purchased 2, 3, 4, 10 years ago, whatever, right? It's going to hurt you guys. So just be careful. Like Ontario, I understand that we're in a unfriendly landlord environment, but the government is not going to build enough. So our rents are still going to, it's still going to be high,
Mm-hmm.
right? They're not going to build enough, and your pricing is still going to stay elevated, right, relative to other areas. So your Alberta, if their rent starts to climb, like if their rent starts to climb, people can see that. It creates more supply. They're going to start building, and that's going to drive down the price. So again, be cautious in what you hear out there. I'm not saying that don't invest in Alberta. I say, yeah, it's great, right? But be cognizant of what's happening, right? Ontario is a market where it's going to be still very, very stable in the next 5 or 10 years. These politicians can't get their act together. We have some land deals that, honestly, that we're going through the hoops, and they're delaying it and making it very difficult for us as like land developers to even push these papers forward, right? You hear that the government is going to open up the sort of the floodgates of building. It's not. It's so quote unquote slow.
It's so true. And there's, you know what it is? It's like they're confused even within their own departments.
Oh yeah.
It's like, oh, we're gonna do this like for example, we're gonna increase the interest rates so that houses don't start increasing in value. And then all of a sudden on the other side, they're like, we're pushing in all these people. So, and then you're just like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
And then they're just like, every department's like counteracting each other, like, oh, we're going to do this to fix this, and like, oh, okay, so we're going to do this to fix our side, and then we're going to do this to fix our side, and you're just like, you guys are not helping your situation at all. And it's just, and the other tip was really good that you gave was, I completely agree with you with Ontario. I think that people are moving out, and like you said, development here is so slow because, like you said, they're so confused on what they want to do. And like I said, like look at Brampton, like the amount of people I had applying was insane. Yeah. And like you said, everything's stalling. Like developers are paused, not only I think paperwork, but also in the development, because renovation costs are expensive. They're not going to get the prices they need. So everyone's like, okay, even pause in that sense, where it's like, we need to wait until the market gets better. And the thing is, but the government's making all these changes to like counteract every other change they're making.
It is.
And it's just insane what's going on right now. And you're right. So I think that's exactly, I believe the same thing. All these things that are doing on, they're slowing it down, which is going to basically continue to bring prices up. And it's still going to have this confusion of, like interest rates will be high, but, prices of houses have to go up, or rent specifically. I think rent specifically, like you said, are going up, and we're seeing it because of this demand that they're creating, this push and pull that's going on.
Yeah, yeah. So I was like, I'm actually just looking at some of these comments. Jack's, I don't know how to say your name. Thoughts on the news about the tenants complaining on rent hikes, rent control in and already unfriendly landlord environment. You know what? Rent hikes are rent hikes. We still do the regular rent hikes. I think this coming one is only 2.5%. But hey, like 2.5% on all your rents is still a fairly good increase. Okay, mind you, your expenses is usually a portion. Okay, so let's say a $10,000 increase. Sorry, a $10,000. Let's say you're collecting 100,000. 2% or 2.5% is $2,500 per month, right? So hear me out here. So you have 100,000 rent collection per month. That's 2,500. Usually, when you're doing plumbings or electrical work or contract work, your increases on, let's say they increase it by 3% or 4%. That's increase on, let's say 1,000. Okay, so you can see the increase on the dollar figure. You're increasing the 2.5% on a larger number relative to increasing it on the expense side on a smaller number. Okay, so just be cognizant of what that means as a landlord. Over time, it just compounds, right? So that 2.5, 2 point, like it's gonna work in your favor. Okay, so as landlords, honestly, just be patient. Nobody really has any more patience anymore. Everybody's on that 10-second reel that I see my kids watching these people dance or whatever, and bang, bang, bang. It's like nobody has any attention. Like their attention span is so short now, especially in investments and this long-term apartment buildings or real estate investing. You really have to be very, very patient. It's just that's what's good. That's what's going to work in your favor. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to add to that, or even your opinion on it, because when he says that I'm assuming it's it's a woman, maybe Jackie.
Yeah.
But the thoughts on the news about the tenants complaining, I think at the same time they can complain, but again, like the things that are happening in the government are forcing the rents to go up.
Oh yeah.
So it's nothing. I feel like, to be honest, I don't even know what they're going to do, because like I said, one will pull from this side saying, like, for example, like that, we're going to help the tenants in this way. Like, I mean, recently, what did they do? I think government gave it some money for groceries to certain incomes,
Yeah.
right? Like, they're going to give money for something, but then all of a sudden something else is going to come up that's going to counteract and like not going to help the situation at all. So I think like government's going to try to help, but to be honest, the other department of who knows what section is going to do something to benefit them side too, right? Like, so I don't see. What is your opinion? I just don't see like rents are not going to go down.
Yeah, so okay, like rents are going to go up. Obviously, your cost of living is very expensive. So giving a $400 rebate or whatever, it's not going to really help. Okay, the end user. So it doesn't really matter what the government does. Whenever money goes through the government, they suck it up. They delay. It costs too much. So I'd rather the government not do anything. Now,
I
Diana,
agree too. To be honest, like I was like that for COVID. I was like,
yeah,
just let the recession happen
yeah,
and let the things happen, and we wouldn't be in this mess that we're in right
yeah,
now.
yeah. So this is how I explain sort of this concept to my kids. Okay, very, very simple. Okay, so I do it by, I have a very simple mind. Okay, so I go to my kids. I go, hey, so what do you mean? Like my kids don't understand this rent supply, like supply, tenant, things like this. So I go, hey, think about a hamburger. All right, I have 10 hamburgers. All right, and I have only 5 people that want it. So these 5 people line up and they want these 10 hamburgers in these 10 different shops. These 10 hamburgers in these 10 different stores, let's say store 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 10. Okay, these 10 stores will have to make these hamburgers amazing, right? Because they have to be amazing and they have to be low cost for these 5 people to buy, because another 5 hamburgers shops will not be able to sell those hamburgers, right? So you know that there's going to be 5 failures and 5 of them they're going to sell. So in just a supply and demand. You have more supply, it's better for the end consumer, right? They're going to have a hamburger that has lettuce, tomatoes, onions, all your condiments for those 5 people, because 10 of them is going to go to waste. Now, flip side, you only have 5 hamburger stores, but you have 10 people. All right. This is the rental business. Okay. I have 10 people that want to eat. 5 of them will be going hungry. I don't even have to put anything condiments on my hamburger. It can be like nothing. It can be a bun and a burger. Okay. A patty. I can even charge not only $3, $4, I can charge $10. Okay. Because I only have 5 hamburgers, right? And I have 10 people. So what's going to happen is that 5 people is going to go hungry, right? So supply and demand, it doesn't make sense, right? Like it doesn't make sense on that equilibrium, but people are going to go hungry and people are going to jack up the price, right? So when going back to your story about the Brampton, if you had everybody lined up, you know what's going to happen? They're going to be bidding basically on themselves. They're going to be pushing the rents. They're going to say, hey, Diane, do you mind if I pay you 6 months in advance? Do you mind, you're renting for 21? Do you mind if I rent it for 23 or 24, 25 or 3,000? And that's what they're actually doing.
That's exactly, that is exactly what's happening. That's exactly what's happening.
I kid you not. One rental unit that I have, this guy, he bid it on himself, right? Like not bid it, like he actually said, you know what, do you mind if I pay you like 3 months in advance or 4 months? And then he actually said, can I actually get a price reduction? I go, no, I can't, right? I have other people like that wants this unit. If you don't want it now, you just tell me right now. We can settle this and we're done, right? I don't even negotiate anymore. You negotiate with me and I'm gone. As a landlord, you can say, you know what, I'm gone, right? I'm sorry, but you know what? It sounds like you're negotiating with me, and I don't negotiate. If you go down in price, I'm gonna go up. You're asking me for 2,100 and it's 2,150. You know what? Now I may have to go with this other guy now, right? So the hamburger like scenario that I said to my kids, hopefully my kids understand that, right? Usually they tune out, but
they're like, oh God, he's telling us stuff again that we don't want to know about.
yeah.
But that's a great point. And I did want to exactly relate it to actually just in case people don't understand, because I do think what you said is so important. Because right now, for example, like a lot of investors are suffering because of just like they pay too much and interest rates, and they're not covering their expenses. And I think exactly saying like now is the time where do the basics and don't do anything more. If you don't need to do it, don't do it, because exactly you're saying the demand is so high, and this is like an opportunity for you to not spend so much money, because a lot of people are already like in bad situations. And this is a great time to take advantage of that, where it's like, okay, you know what, I don't have to make this house look incredibly beautiful anymore, because anyone's coming, and do just the essentials. What needs to get done, and understand what that is, because some people don't understand even what the essentials are, but understand what the essentials are and only get those things done, because we are at least like that. You're suffering, take advantage of this time. Right? Take advantage and only do what's necessary so that you can get it on the market and rent it out, because people, it's a lineup.
Hey, so Diana, I was looking at these comments. The Good Life 999, sell everything, go to the US. I wouldn't do that. Like for me, like Ontario, the market is still, they're flooding people with like $500,000 or 500,000 is it people per year? So don't. Honestly, Ontario is a very strong market. I said this in our earlier conversation, is that be careful of what area you're going to go to. If it's a very capitalist state or province, they're gonna they're very business oriented, so they're gonna start building more and then drive down that rent price and drive down the price of the house. So just be cognizant of what you're doing. Like if you're going to be selling everything in Ontario is going to be a very solid market for the next 5 or 10 years, because they're just not going to build enough. Okay. Major differences and tips on how to transition to scaling from single fam / small unit multi-units to condominium larger. All it is money. Okay. All you need, the hardest part in any kind of business is money, right? The first 5 years is gonna be tough. Getting that asset, the barriers of entry is still money. You have to have that money to operate, to be able to purchase. So honestly, from right now, if you have that money, there's opportunities there, right? So I don't see interest rates dropping any, like if it does drop, it might inch maybe 1 or 2 more
Very
times.
minor.
Yeah, it's gonna be very minor. It's gonna be down to maybe 4% or 4.5%, but it's not gonna be to the point where we're down to 1 or 2%. And no, it's not gonna happen again because they want a very stable market. And because of that, it's a very stable market. Carrying cost is gonna be very high for us as landlords or homeowners, anything like that. And then construction cost is still gonna be high. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so again, what's the tips is that you have to have that money. Do you have small single family homes or anything that you can divest, sell it, and then move up to the multifamily? Remember, when you're moving up to a larger building, the price per unit is usually a little bit better, and your overall operating costs and everything, because of the economies of scale, will be a lot better.
100% love that. And yeah, it's just also uh even like yeah, I completely agree with you too. Like a lot of people are wanting to go to the US or leave
Yep.
Ontario. I actually when you were talking about it, I was just like, shh, you know,
Yeah.
like don't tell anyone. Because I'm like the same, like guys, you guys go. You know, I want to take advantage of the Ontario market because I was like, everyone's leaving. But like you said, I also have a strong belief that Ontario is like a strong market, and we're like building this catalyst of like it's just I think things are gonna boom even more and be a lot better. And it's just like if you like you said, if you have the money or you can hold off,
Yep.
like things like you said, the patience is so important. I feel like I'm starting to get a little bit, but it's like always telling yourself, be patient
Yeah.
because um, it's going to come and it's going to be good. And we're just going to be hitting some really good, I feel like we're going to just be getting some good times if you're ready
Yeah. Yeah.
to take the
Yeah.
actions.
So, uh, I only have maybe 3 minutes left, but in Florida, this person, the Good Life, 999 again. In Florida, we give people 30 days notice, and they're gone. They don't leave. You show up with the sheriff and throw them out. Yeah. So there's nothing wrong with that. Like Florida's a very uh, they're landlord friendly. But the thing is, again, are they going to build a lot to the point where once this happens, your rent is going to be flatline and your price is coming down? So again, like in Canada, Ontario, when people immigrate, they're going to immigrate to Toronto and Vancouver, right? So think about, like, I understand, like Florida. My parents actually invested in land in Florida. It actually was it's called Ocala. It was like like it was a horse town or something like that. But it was so, honestly, they bought it when I was 14 years old. So it's basically that flatline, didn't make any money for like 30 years ish. So they just want to sell it. My parents are old, but I wouldn't look at Florida. I would look at still cash flowing properties. Um, honestly, like Diana, like most of your people like following you or me or whoever, like you don't need a lot to retire, people. You need like what, 3, 4, 5,000? Like honestly, one 30 or 40 unit building, after you stabilize it, okay? And after the 5 years, when you hit the 10-year point, you can easily be making 20,000 a month. Easily. Okay. So honestly, just be patient. If you can get your 30, 40, 50 unit buildings, just one, okay, you don't need a lot, and just hold that. And that will give you enough income. Forget about your RSPs, your RESPs, and things like that. Like, when honestly, I don't believe in that because I I don't want to work for 40 years, right? My
Mhm.
fallback
I
is my
agree with you too on
like my
that.
fallback. Like, if something screws up, I'll go work. I don't mind working, right? But if something goes wrong, I'll go work for somebody for the next 10, 20, 30 years, right? But having one building, that's all you need. Make sure you hold, like, you hold it for the 10 years, right? But baby it, right? Something goes wrong, you clean it up, fix it, repair it, things like that. But that's that nest egg that you want to keep, because that will give you 20 G's a month. Okay.
Mhm. I love it. Thank you so much for all the tips. It was fun to go off on this rant and chat with you and get to know because it's like it was, I don't know, it's nice that I haven't actually been able to bounce so much ideas with someone, and it was so much fun to do that with you.
No problem.
Thanks so much for coming on.
No.
And so if you guys love what you hear from Kasey, he's going to be tagged in this. So you can follow